Hello and welcome. If you saw my my Synastry chart of Meghan Markle, Duchess of Sussex, and Anne Boleyn, you'll remember that I said that I was probably going to do the Synastry chart of Prince Harry and King Henry VIII. So that's exactly what I'm doing now, okay? And I found some really interesting synastries. So here are their dates of birth, okay? And let's get started, okay? Prince Harry is in the inner ring, okay? And King Henry VIII is on the outer ring, okay? All right. Okay, hold on, slide. Okay, so first the basics. Sun, moon, and descendant rising signs. Prince Harry is a Virgo sun, Taurus moon, and Capricorn ascendant rising, okay? King Henry VIII was a sun in Cancer and moon in Sagittarius, ascendant unknown because we don't have a definite birth time, or at least I couldn't find one. But we can still see a lot here, okay? There are some extremely interesting and meaningful close synastries and synchronicities in their synastry chart. I was surprised by how much I found. Keep watching to find out what they are, okay? So, first, the lunar nodes, okay? The lunar nodes in our charts are about balance and evolution. It's an axis, okay? Now, these are very interesting because a lot of people, a lot of astrologers consider, nodes to have a lot of karmic meaning and karmic resonance, okay? And it's about development of the soul, okay? Development of the person, okay? Now look at this, okay? This is Prince Harry's south node, okay, right here in Scorpio in the 10th house, okay? And then King Henry VIII's north node, I was going to get the pen up here. One second, where is the pen? Yeah, sorry about that. I was just getting the pen. Okay, so, sorry. Okay, so, and then King Henry VIII's North Node and Moon are in Sagittarius right here, right? So they're in different signs, but they're very close. It's a very close conjunction, even though they're different signs. Okay, and and I remember I looked at the thing. I think it was only like 1 degree apart or something like that. It was close. Let me put it that way. It was close. Now, this is very significant because the South Node is considered almost the energy we had coming into this life, okay, coming into this world, okay? And the North Node is to do with the energy that we're kind of working towards. And as we go through our lives, we're kind of balancing those two energies and trying to go towards the positive aspects of our North Node, okay? So this is very, I mean, the chances of this being like this are very low, okay? And then of course, we also have the corresponding, the reverse, right? Right here, okay? And so Henry VIII South Node in Gemini is conjunct Prince Harry's North Node in Taurus in his 4th house. So here we have, it's interesting how these are taking place in Prince Harry's 10th house and his 4th house, okay? The 4th house is to do with our roots, okay? The 10th house is to do with our public persona. It can be our career. Okay, I don't have King Henry VIII's houses because I didn't have his definite birth time. Okay, but still, I mean, that is very very interesting. Okay. Okay, beauty, love, emotion, and healing. Now, Henry VIII's Venus in Taurus is conjunct Prince Harry's Moon and Ceres in Taurus. In Harry's 4th house, near his IC, roots, heritage, and things that are familiar. Okay, so I've circled it here. Okay. And now look at that. This is very close. Okay. Here's King Henry VIII's Venus. Okay. It's right on. Like, I mean, that's almost, I'm pretty certain that's almost an exact conjunction. Okay. Harry's moon and then Ceres is over here as well, but the conjunction with the moon is really, really close. Okay. And again, this is by Harry's IC. Okay. So the IC in the 4th house, which do with roots, heritage, and things that feel familiar and that are familiar. Okay, the moon is about the mother, but not just the mother. It can be, like emotion, deep emotion, our emotional life. It can also be intuition and things like that. Ceres is about healing. It can also be about motherhood, and it could, but just about like nurturing, healing, that kind of thing. It's very interesting. So this kind of, this kind of has a resonance that there might be some alignment in their love of beauty, their love of emotion, their love of love. okay? A very romantic nature. I mean, King Henry VIII had a lot of faults, as we know, from especially later in his life. But one thing that people did like about him was he was very romantic, okay? But I'm not going to get into all the other things, but you know what I mean, right? He had a sense of romance. Let me put it that way, okay? He had a sense of romance when he was young, okay? um, but, so, and it's interesting too, when we think about the moon and Venus and Ceres for these two, is that one interesting synchronicity between King Henry VIII, when he was young, obviously, and Prince Harry, is that they both lost their mothers when they were very young. I can't remember how old Henry VIII was when he lost his mother, but apparently, I mean, there are reports in history that it really devastated him. Well, you know, obviously it would, but it was especially notable, apparently. So interesting. Okay, and then over here. So, sacred flame, purpose, and gifts. Okay, up here, this is like a theme. I was just kind of pulling it together into a theme for each, okay? Henry VIII's Vesta in Virgo is conjunct Prince Harry's Vesta, Mercury, and part of fortune in Virgo in his 8th house, okay? So here is the group right here. Okay, let me get the pen. Where is the pen? So, okay, so here is Prince Harry's Vesta right there, and there's King Henry VIII's Vesta. Sorry, I accidentally hold on. Okay, sorry about that. Just put a little tiny mark. So there's his Vesta right there, okay? And then we have his Mercury and his part of fortune, and this is in the 8th house. Okay, the 8th house can be every house has a lot of meanings, okay? But some of the meanings of the 8th house, make sure. Some of the meanings of the 8th house can be shared wealth, inheritances, legacies, power. The 8th house corresponds to Scorpio, okay? So it can be all of those things. It can also be hardship, reversals of fortune, but also like wealth, but wealth that comes from like the dynasties, you know, like inherited wealth. Shared resources is a big one. Shared resources. It's a very complex house. Okay. In the context of this reading, I'm going to take it as being like like big, you know, like dynasties. Okay. For obvious reasons here, but also shared resources. It's interesting they both have Vesta. Vesta is an asteroid that means like the sacred flame. It can be your purpose. It can be gifts. It can be like things that you would fight for, like, or like things that you would defend. A sacred flame, that kind of thing. They both have it very close, which is very interesting. Very interesting. And then the Mercury here and the part of fortune, it makes sense that Harry's part of fortune is here, like in like, you know, like inherited, you know, like the royal family is all about inherited significance, dynasties. The Mercury is here as well. It's just the significance of this for me in a synastry chart is just how close these things are, because the chances of that are very low. Okay, so these people were born like 500 years apart, but you know, it's just interesting. Okay. And what else here? Action and purpose. So Henry VIII's Mars in Virgo is conjunct Prince Harry's Sun in Virgo in his 8th house again, okay? So this is another one in the 8th house right here. And, you know, it's right here, okay? It's circled. And there's Harry's Sun. I'm sorry if I've got their names mixed up at any point. I might have. But you know what I'm saying here, okay? Harry's in blue, and Henry is in red. It's even more confusing because Prince Harry's birth name is actually Henry, but he was always Harry from the time he was a baby. Like, he went by that nickname, but it's a bit confusing. But anyway, so Harry is in blue, okay, and then Henry is in red, okay? And so Prince Harry, his sun is right there in Virgo, and then here's King Henry VIII's Mars, okay? Now, Mars, like, as everything in astrology, everything has multiple meanings. There's not just one meaning. You have to kind of interpret it in the context of the chart, okay? But some of the meanings of Mars are like action, purpose, drive, determination, the ability to stand up for yourself, that kind of thing, right? the sun is your essence. It can be yours, like the essence of who you are, the essence of who you are, that kind of thing, right? It's just so interesting that they're so close. And King Henry VIII was known for, I mean, like, obviously he was known for a lot of negative things too, but especially when he was young, he was known for better things than he was when he was older. And King Henry VIII, he was known for being quite, like he loved to joust. He was very, very athletic. He was extremely athletic. It's hard to believe when we think about the images of King Henry VIII when he was older. But when he was young, he was almost like a different person from when he was older. Okay, and he was very, very athletic, and so is Harry. Harry's known for. I mean, you think about the jousting. If you thought about a sport that's a little bit similar to that today, the one that would come to my mind is polo. Really. It's on horseback, they're competing, you know what I mean? It's not combat, but it's on horseback. And, and Prince Harry is really good at that. And it's just interesting to me to see all these close synchronicities. In a synastry chart, it's very significant because the chances of that are very low. And when you get all of these close synastries in one chart, they kind of all go together to be more meaningful, right? It's not just one thing, okay? Okay, it just shows that there's synchronicity of some kind going on here, in my opinion, okay? And at the end of the video, I'll talk about what I think about this, okay? But I just want to show you the synastries first, okay? So then I labeled this one harmonious earth energy, grounding power. So there is a grand earth trine here in their synastry chart. Okay, a grand trine is 3 trines coming together into a triangle, and I will trace it in a minute. Okay, but their grand earth trine involves the Sun-Mars conjunction in Virgo. So Prince Harry's Sun and King Henry VIII's Mars conjunction in Virgo. The Moon-Venus conjunction in Taurus. So which one was that again? So that was Prince Harry's Moon and King Henry VIII's Venus conjunction in Taurus. And King Henry VIII's Uranus in Capricorn, which is near Prince Harry's ascendant. It's near it. It's pretty close to a conjunction. It might even be considered a conjunction, but it's near it, okay? So I am going to get the pen and I'm going to trace it. So right here it starts right there. I'm going to make sure you get this straight. Hold on. I want to show you the triangle. So it goes here, and then here, and then here. So there's that triangle, okay? Now, when I was thinking about, what the potential significance of this, I considered the fact that, it's Earth. Earth is grounding, okay? And it's interesting that King Henry VIII's Uranus is here, because Uranus is not a grounding planet. I mean, every planet has their purpose and their good things and maybe potential negative manifestations. But in this context, like Uranus is very, Uranus corresponds to Aquarius. Okay. Aquarius is not earth centered at all. Okay. It's an air sign. It can be very detached. Sometimes some people can say it can even feel a little bit alien in some ways. But that's what it corresponds to. Okay. So it's interesting that we have this earth trine kind of grounding that. And sorry, I'm sorry if I'm getting the names mixed up. King Henry VIII's Uranus is near Prince Harry's ascendant. The ascendant is how you appear to the world. It's kind of like, yeah, it's your surface, the surface level. Harry has a Capricorn ascendant. So if someone first meets him, they might get the sense that he has that kind of like Capricornian earth grounded energy. Okay. Like on the first impression. He also has a Jupiter. His Jupiter is near his ascendant, which is very good because people who have the Jupiter near their ascendant, they tend to be very charming. Okay. Anyway, let's get back to this conjunction here. But this Uranus, it's almost as if that kind of the Uranian energy that King Henry VIII had, is kind of coming into Prince Harry's impression, like the impression that people get. And what just came into something that just came into my mind that's quite interesting is that, you know, Prince Harry has red hair. And there's nothing surprising about that because Princess Diana's, her whole family had red hair. Like, in fact, one of her ancestors was known as the Red Earl, I think, the Red Earl, because he had like a big red beard. I mean, they all had red hair. And even Princess Diana herself had a lot of red tints in her hair until she started dyeing it. But people don't talk about the fact that she dyed it, but she definitely did. And I think that's the reason why sometimes the blonde looked a bit off. She was trying to get, anyway, I'm not going to get into a hair thing right now, but what I'm saying here is that the red hair thing, right? But even with all of that, even with the fact that Prince Charles, he was prince at the time, even though he knew all of that, even though he knew that Princess Diana's family all had red hair, or at least very red tinted hair, he still acted surprised, like, oh, that's a bolt from the blue. Why does he have red hair? Which is very strange. And apparently Princess Diana herself said, well, you know that my whole family has red hair. Why are you so surprised? Right? But it's interesting, though, because King Henry VIII also had red hair. I'm not sure if that was considered a surprise when he was born, but it was, for whatever reason, a surprise to Prince Charles. Even though Princess Diana's whole family had red hair. So she must have been kind of surprised about why he'd be surprised by that, but anyway, red hair is also a recessive gene. So, anyway, I don't get into all of that. I tend to go off on tangents sometimes. I'll stay with the astrology. Anyway, but that's interesting. It's almost like this Iranian kind of thing manifesting here. Not Uranian. My God, I'm a bit tired. Uranian is the adjective for Uranus. I don't want anyone twisting around what I'm saying here. Okay, so let's get out of the drawing here. And then I would go on to the next one. Okay, power and transformation. Pluto and Pluto conjunction. Okay, King Henry VIII's Pluto in Libra is conjunct Prince Harry's Pluto in Scorpio. Now, yes, they are in different signs, but only just. You see, okay, which one is it here? Yeah. King Henry VIII's Pluto is in Libra up here, okay, the red, and then Prince Harry's Pluto is in Scorpio down here, okay? But this Pluto is right at the very end of Libra, and this Pluto is right at the very beginning of Scorpio. I think they're probably like a degree apart at the most, probably. I didn't check that, but I can tell right here, okay? Oh, actually, I did. I remember it was the last degree of Libra and the first degree of Scorpio, okay? And it's interesting because Pluto is to do with power, transformation. That can have to do with like death and rebirth, really intense things. But in this context, it's really about the power and the transformation. That's how I'm looking at it right here. It's interesting that King Henry VIII's Pluto was retrograde. Yeah, his was retrograde. And Prince Harry's is direct. It's very interesting. I mean, yes, Pluto is a generational planet. But we're talking about two people here who were born 500 years apart. The chances of like just, you know what I mean? Like, let me put it this way. When you take this in the context of all the other synastries I found, right? Like by itself, it wouldn't be much. But when you take it in the context of all the other synastries, I think it's quite significant. So what am I saying here? So you're kind of asking, you know, like, what are my conclusions for this? Well, I think there are a lot of synastries here. I think they're very close. And when you put them all together, I think they're significant. And I personally believe that, you know, Prince Harry and King Henry VIII could be part of the same, like, sort of like soul lineage, soul group, or have like energetic and karmic links. It's very, very complicated. Like, it's not a simple thing. Okay. I think it's possible. Okay. Well, what do you think? I mean, do you think there could be like some type of karmic soul connection between King Henry VIII and Prince Harry? I mean, and as I've said here, you know, perhaps Prince Harry is somehow helping to energetically resolve some of Henry VIII's negative energy. For example, And I think this is a really notable point here. For example, Prince Harry has chosen to stand up for his wife, and he has refused to turn against her, like the royal family and the media seem to want him to do. That's my opinion. It seems like the royal family and the media seem to want him to do that, especially the media in some cases. But he has chosen integrity instead of power and political expediency. By contrast, King Henry VIII was obsessed with power and status to such a degree that he was willing to persecute anyone, including his wife, to keep it. I think that's something to think about. I really do. So, yeah. So, by the way, have you seen my Meghan Markle, Duchess of Sussex and Anne Boleyn Synastry video? You'll find it on my channel. So make sure to take a look if you're interested, okay? And thanks so much for watching. Please like and subscribe so you see my future videos. All right, take care. Bye.